listening to the House of Pain on The Fan.
You know there is a better way to deal with pain and injury. You can find it at the ARPWave Clinic. The ARPWave Clinic works on the principle that joint problems, tears, sprains, fractures, or repetitive task injuries are caused by muscles not properly absorbing the force. Let's explain this. The muscles of your body are driven and controlled by electricity, and when they're injured, you develop a type of a short circuit. ARPWave locates the actual origin of that short circuit. It's often not where you think it would be, and then rapidly repairs it. The ARP Clinic treats the most elite athletes in the world. Just imagine what the clinic could do for you, and the results, they are guaranteed. You'll increase your ability to absorb force, and that will eliminate your pain and improve your quality of life. There is a better way to deal with pain and injury. The ARPWave Clinic. Go to KFAN.com, keyword pain, for more on ARPWave or ARPWave.com.
Welcome back to House of Pain. I'm Dan Cole, the Common Man, along with Dennis Thompson. He's the founder of the ARPWave Clinic. We mentioned we'd be talking with a patient of yours, Gary Hansen. We talked to him a little bit earlier. Gary's in his early 60s and had not one, but two
multiple surgical interventions
to try to improve his quality of life. As a matter of fact, when we talked to Gary, he told us about what his life has been like since his first hip replacement, which was back in 1991.
Well, the first 3 years I spent going 3 days a week to physical therapy trying to get my leg to move because it was scarred up so bad from 32 years. And over the class in 1991, I had that hip replacement. And 3 years ago, I had a second hip replacement. So they took the old one out, and the femur was all busted up. They had to put in a cadaver femur and wrapped wires around it and so forth. 5 braided wires, and 2 of them broke loose and were trying to poke through my skin. And then basically I went in 6 months ago and had they had all those wires taken out, and that really set me back. I couldn't hardly walk after that. They told me my only therapy was walk. No physical therapy at all. And after about 2.5 years, I said, I got to do something. If I break this thing, I break it. I need to have some results,
It sounds like a bad B horror movie.
His first hip replacement was at the age of 15 years old. And from that point forward, he had created such a severe compensation pattern that none of his muscles worked correctly. So none of his muscles could absorb force. So all that force went directly to that new hip replacement. And it has caused him a major degradation in his quality of life.
We continued with Gary and asked him what his life has been like since he found out about the ARPWave and since you had a chance to work with him.
Met these guys at the Home and Garden Show about probably a month and a half ago now. And I started treatments about 2.5 weeks ago, or maybe 3, that I couldn't stand on my left leg prior to that. And now I can. And I'm walking without a cane. I take it occasionally because I feel that need for the blanket. You know what I mean?
Little security blanket there that a lot of people have. You even tell me, don't be looking for the pain all the time, Don, because you always want to say, is it really getting better?
Exactly.
So immediately he's seeing results.
He did. Gary's probably one of the hardest workers I've ever worked with. I mean, he had a burning desire to improve the quality of his life, and his glute didn't exist. That's his buttocks, as you would call it. His glute did not even exist on one side of his body. Was unable to fire it, was unable to fire his quad, couldn't stand up, couldn't march, couldn't step in place like you and I would just do marching in place. He had no proprioception, no ability to put one foot down next to each other without hitting it. And he walked with a very, very, very severe limp. And in 5 treatments, the goal was to get him away from his cane.
Gary went on to explain to us in easier terms everything he's been through since he was 15 years old in that first surgery.
Well, I had it fused when I was 15. I broke it when I was 19. They told me I could do anything I want, and I did. And I broke it, and then they put 2 stainless steel rods in it and refused it when I was 19. And when I was 47, they replaced the hip. And let's see, that would be, I was 62, they replaced the replacement. So, and he basically told me that if I break this, he doesn't know what he's going to do with it. And I said, well, you better figure something out because I'm not stopping.
Wow. I mean, it sounds like he went through, like you said, multiple procedures and was really, his quality of life wasn't there, really.
No, and you have to ask yourself, if the replacement was the solution to the problem, then why do you have to have it done multiple times? And the answer is very, very simple, and unfortunately no one looks at the simplicity of the answer, and that is you did surgery on a symptom. They did not do surgery on the origin of the problem.
He's obviously much better off now, and I think he's probably better off as far as his pocketbook, too, because we asked him about the cost with the ARP Wave as compared to, like, 32 years of visits to the doctors and operations and such.
My initial thought was, gee, that's a lot of money. But I see rolfers, I see massage therapists, I do physical therapy, I do all kinds of things over the course of my life, and then I pay $110 and see a rolfer and get an hour and a half, and a couple of days later, I'm back wishing I could go see the rolfer again. So it's they make me feel good for a short time, and it goes away. And I'm so far, this has been a really good experience. I think I am looking forward to. I got the machine at home right now, and after I get off the phone here, I'm going to go through one of the second day of my 30-day routine and using it, and I'm hoping that I'll get longer-lasting results than I gotten out of anything else.
Well, and I think he will, because I know I'm like 6-7 days into mine, and it's working.
Oh yeah, and again, it's hard for people to understand. This is a system, and we're not used to living in a system. This system is 100% predictable. If you don't do step 3, you will be back to step 1. If you do step 3, you will not be back.
We also asked Gary about how happy, it sounds like he is, but we wanted to ask him how happy he is so far with the ARP system.
Yes. And my brother, I saw him, I hadn't seen him for a few weeks, and he says, my gosh, you sure have turned around. So he thinks I'm getting results.
So he thinks he's getting results. He's happier. He's pleased with it, and other people have noticed it already.
Yeah, he was telling me in one of the therapy sessions when he went over to his brother's house, his brother said, you're walking better than I've seen you for 3 years.
Yeah. A lot of people would think, too, the final question with Gary was, it seems so easy, almost maybe too good to be true to a lot of people. How can it happen this quickly, especially through the experience he's been through? And we kind of asked him, take us through that experience of what it's been like for you.
Well, it's unbelievable. My wife is a bit of a skeptic, you might say. She says, you're going to spend all that money? I hope you get some results from it. But it's not the first time I've spent money trying to get my body to move the way it's supposed to.
And it's working for him, too. And that's the thing is it is kind of too good. We talked about during the break. We talked about skepticism people have about anything, and it's probably good to have a healthy skepticism about. As a matter of fact, when Craig Warren first directed me to you, he said, "Go see Dennis." Because I asked him, because after you told me at the golf show, right, I can have you fixed up. I said, okay, sounds good. And I called. You had mentioned Craig. I said, that's right. He did work with Craig. Called Craig. He said, go see Dennis. He'll have you fixed up, I guarantee it. And Craig was right. You had Craig playing golf. I think Craig couldn't get out of bed a couple of years ago. A couple of days later, he's out playing golf again, just in a couple of days.
Yep. And again, if you relax the muscle, it'll do what it's supposed to do. And that's what we do. We relax the muscle and allow it to do what it's supposed to do.